The story of the Vanderbilts is one of ambition, immense wealth, and spectacular loss. Once the richest family in America, the Vanderbilts built empires of steel and steam. Their name became synonymous with power and luxury, but their wealth proved fragile. Less than a century after Cornelius Vanderbilt's death, the family fortune had vanished. The grand mansions were sold, private railcars scrapped, and the yachts decommissioned. How could such vast wealth disappear? The answer serves as a powerful reminder. Money without purpose is like a ship without a rudder. Whispers of this lost legacy echoed through the generations. The Vanderbilt name came to carry the weight of history, rather than power. The great houses that once bustled with life are now museums, monuments to a past both magnificent and tragic. The family created a gilded cage, beautiful from the outside but a trap within. Excess and competition consumed the fortune that made such extravagance possible. This is not just the story of one family, it reflects America's complicated relationship with wealth. The tale includes the tough man who started it all, his son who doubled the inheritance, and the generations who raced to outspend one another. They built, they partied, and they spent, until nothing remained. The true value of a legacy lies not in money, but in the wisdom that endures. The Vanderbilt story begins with Cornelius Vanderbilt, born in 1794 to a simple farming family. He quit school at 11, bought a small boat at 16, and ferried passengers between Staten Island and Manhattan. That boat was the seed of a colossal fortune. He worked tirelessly, undercutting competitors, earning a reputation for reliability and ruthlessness. The Commodore. He built a steamship fleet, dominating the waters, and later established a faster transport route during the gold rush. In his 60s, he saw the future in railroads, selling his steamships and buying up railroad stocks. He took control of the New York and Harlem Railroad, the Hudson River Railroad, and finally the New York Central. He connected lines from New York to Chicago, building Grand Central Depot as a monument to his empire. By his death in 1877, Cornelius Vanderbilt was the richest man in America, with a fortune of over $100 million, more than the U.S. Treasury. He built this from nothing, through grit and vision. He embodied the American dream, but left his heirs with a challenge. How do you protect such wealth? The Commodore built the empire but didn't teach his family how to rule it. The next chapter would test whether the fortune could survive. The answer would shape the family's destiny. Cornelius Vanderbilt had little faith in his children except for William Henry "Billy" Vanderbilt. Billy, once dismissed as a blockhead, proved himself by turning a struggling farm and railroad into successes. When the Commodore died, he left almost everything, $95 million, to Billy, believing only one person could preserve and grow the fortune. Billy took this responsibility seriously, managing the railroad empire with diligence and strategy. He expanded the network, improved efficiency, and fended off corporate raiders. Unlike his father, Billy was a strategist, not a showman. He endured public criticism, famously saying, "The public be damned." In just 9 years, Billy doubled the fortune to nearly $200 million. He proved he was no blockhead, but set an impossibly high standard for his heirs. Billy divided his fortune among his children, especially his two eldest sons, Cornelius II and William K. He secured the money, but also unleashed it. The next generation would not be builders. They would be spenders. The family's future would be defined by how they handled this vast inheritance. The torch had been passed, but the fire was about to change. The era of spending had begun. With William Henry's death, the Gilded Age began, a time of surface gold and hidden excess. For the third generation of Vanderbilts, life was about spending, not earning. Their main occupation became social competition, waged with balls, yachts, and palatial homes. Alva Vanderbilt led the charge, building the Petit Chateau and hosting a legendary costume ball to break into New York society. This victory sparked an architectural arms race among the Vanderbilts. Cornelius II built the largest private residence in New York. Others built cottages in Newport that were anything but modest. Marble House and the Breakers became symbols of their extravagance. These homes required armies of servants and endless maintenance. The spending extended to yachts, lavish parties, and marriages into European aristocracy. Consuelo Vanderbilt's forced marriage to the Duke of Marlborough cost a fortune in dowry. The family stopped creating value, converting productive assets into a lifestyle of conspicuous consumption. The foundation of their wealth was being hollowed out, one party and palace at a time. The empire was shifting from creation to display. The seeds of decline were sown in their relentless pursuit of status. The fortune was no longer growing, it was evaporating. As the Vanderbilts built palaces and hosted parties, the world changed. Railroads, once their gold mine, faced new regulations and taxes, shrinking profits. The family, detached from business, became passive investors, drawing dividends but not reinvesting or innovating. The competitive fire was gone, replaced by entitlement. William Henry's fortune was divided among 8 children, and then again among their heirs. Each generation splintered the wealth further, with no central figure or financial strategy, no trusts, no foundations, no education on managing wealth, just cash handed down. The third and fourth generations were experts at spending, but clueless about making or keeping money. The fatal flaw, assuming the fortune would last forever. The empire was crumbling from within. The end began with the demolition of the great houses, symbols of Vanderbilt power but unsustainable burdens. As fortunes dwindled and taxes soared, Fifth Avenue mansions were sold and torn down for shops and offices. The most symbolic loss was Alva Vanderbilt's Petit Chateau, demolished in 1947. Newport cottages were sold or turned into museums, open to tourists. The family's railroad empire dissolved as shares were sold to pay for lifestyles and taxes. By the 1950s, Vanderbilt control was gone. The New York Central Board had no family members left. The empire the Commodore built had slipped away. By the 1970s, at a family reunion, not one of 120 descendants was a millionaire. The yachts, rail cars, and palaces were gone. All that remained were a few university buildings, a famous name, and a cautionary tale. The gilded cage was dismantled, leaving only memories. The era of Vanderbilt dominance was over. There's a proverb, from shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. The first generation builds the fortune, the second enjoys it, the third squanders it. The Vanderbilts are the most dramatic example of this cycle in American history. Cornelius Vanderbilt was the builder, rising from nothing through relentless work. William Henry was the bridge. He doubled the fortune, but raised his children in privilege. The third generation, born into luxury, saw the fortune as a tool for pleasure and status. They built mansions, not businesses. They competed in spending, not earning. The fortune splintered and evaporated within decades. The family returned, metaphorically, to shirt sleeves. The great engine of wealth had run out of fuel. The proverb was fulfilled, and the dynasty faded. The Vanderbilt story became a warning for all who inherit great wealth. The cycle had come full circle. The Vanderbilt story is more than history. It's a lesson about wealth. Money alone isn't enough. Without wisdom and purpose, it vanishes. The Commodore's descendants inherited his fortune, but not his drive or discipline. The tragedy was failing to educate heirs or create structures to protect the wealth. Wealth needs planning, trusts, and above all, education. A family fortune is a shared resource, not a personal bank account. Purpose matters. The Commodore built, his heirs consumed. Once the family's mission shifted from creation to consumption, decline was inevitable. Today, as new fortunes rise, the Vanderbilt story is a warning. True legacy is measured in values and wisdom, not houses or parties. The lesson is written in the ruins of fallen palaces, an echo we should all heed. This is Good Vibes, Smart Minds, where we turn history into lessons worth sharing.